Hello, welcome back. DJ Vapor with you. This is the Serum Beginners Course, and in this lesson, we're going to take a look at the Matrix tab within Serum. So in previous lessons, we're looking at modulation sources and ways to drag and drop the LFOs to the different parameters here on the main screen. But within the Matrix tab, we'll be able to actually see what we've already set up and give additional parameters and arrangements to that. So let me take a look here. It looks like I've got LFO1 over here on the cutoff of the filter. So if we click the Matrix tab, it's going to display that for us. It's going to show the source is LFO1. It's going to show the amount. It's going to show the destination, which is the filter cutoff. And let's take a look at this in a little bit further detail. So I'm going to push a button here, get a little note going, trigger it. What you can see is a little blue kind of squiggly little light there showing us the indication of the modulation amount. So as I move this amount down towards 0, you can see that little indicator kind of hovering right to the center there, showing no movement at all. And then as we go to the negative amount, it kind of leans over this side and shows that we're weighted towards the negative side of the modulation amount. So positive, negative, center. Additionally, this little graph area here is also a visual indication of the amount of modulation being applied. So let's take a look at that as I move it back and forth. So I start to come over this way, you can see the graph indicating a heavier weight towards this side, and vice versa. If I go negative, it leans to the left here and shows that we're closer to that. So really good visual indications of our setup and where we're at. Additionally, we've got a little curve here. Now currently the cutoff from the filter that we've got assigned to the LFO is being, following this little pattern down here, being modulated by this LFO pattern, but we can make additional adjustments by just clicking and moving this curve right here. You can bend it up, and then you can see on the graph we're going towards that negative side, or that positive side. It's kind of bumping over this way and staying up high over here. And then vice versa, if we click and drag, we can go to the negative side down. Just a nice little additional curve feature to dial in, a little bit better sounds. So over here on the destination, we've got the filter cutoff, and then if you click on it, you've got all the additional destination sources available to you right here. Type is referring to the amount of the bipolar, whether it's completely polar or bipolar. That's what the amount is referring to. So if you see how that changes here, should be both ways, yeah. See how it's both sides there. Bipolar, and then if I click it's got bipolar, it's got arrows on each side. If I click it once, then it's unipolar, they refer to it as, where it's just on one side here. The modulation or destination or modulation parameter just goes to one side or the other. So that's what type refers to. Mod we'll get into here in just a second. And then we have Aux Source. We can add an additional auxiliary source for our modulation, so we can choose between the envelopes and the LFOs. Aftertouch, we've actually got some Chaos 1 and 2. Let's take a look at those. So if we click Chaos, those are actually sources that exist over here on the Global tab. And the Chaos is similar to the noise oscillator, but it has different algorithms. And each of these Chaos 1 and Chaos 2 have different algorithms. So the noise oscillator on the main page here is based off of wavetables, but the Chaos 1 and 2, they're based off of algorithms. and not necessarily wavetables, but let's take a listen to what they do for us. And what's cool is you can kind of BPM sync them. Even though they're chaotic, you can still BPM sync them. So you can hear how chaotic that can get pretty quick. So you can also additionally adjust the curve, just like before. And then you've got the modulation amount, 0 and 100. All right, so let's take a closer look at the mod. So let me see, what are we going to use? I'm going to pick a different auxiliary source. Let's go with mod wheel, which is this guy right down here. So if we go with mod wheel, it gives me a little bit easier way to explain this for you. So right now it's set at kind of its default, so that nothing's really changing. It's just kind of, you know, as it should be. But if you go to, like for instance, if I move the mod wheel up, we hear the modulation amount increase. Move it down, it decreases. Increase, decrease. That's on this straightforward setting. But if you go to inverse, it's going to be just the opposite, basically. Now, when I move up, it decreases, shuts off. When I move down, it increases and turns back on. So it just reversed its setup. And you can do that with any of the aux sources that you choose. I just chose mod wheel to give you a little bit more visual idea with me moving it down here, exactly what we're doing. And then you can also bypass that altogether if you don't want to deal with it. So let's take a look at additional sources here. I'm going to get this guy down to 0. Let's see what else we can find on sources. So there are some sources here that aren't available, you know, off of the other pages there. So let's look at, let me see here. Yeah, I guess we can look at note on, and let's pick semitones, oscillator A, since that's the one we have turned on. You can kind of hear note on is only happening when I hit the note on the keyboard, and you can see down below here what key I'm hitting. So this is actually only being affected when the key is struck. But as I move this up and down, you can hear it kind of step through the different semitones. Pretty nice little deal there. And again, you can curve it up, curve it down, getting all your same indications. Let's mess with another aux source here. Let's pick, how about a noise oscillator? And for this to work, of course, I'll have to turn that on, but I don't necessarily want to hear the noise oscillator. I just want to use it as a source. So I turn down the level there. Let me go back here. You hear the change there? Alright, so hopefully you get the idea of what you have available for you over here on the Matrix tab. A little bit more fine detail, and for like larger, larger sounds or larger structures that you want to create within Serum, any more complex settings and things like that. The Matrix tab is where you want to come in here and explore and set your destinations and, go through your different types, just get a little bit better control over everything. And then alternatively, if you've set parameters here, a lot of times if you're dragging and dropping all these different LFO and envelope sources all over the place, it's easy to kind of lose track of what you've got set up. If you click matrix, you're going to have that entire list available right here to kind of go through and make your additional adjustments. Everything's going to show up and present itself here for you. So that is the matrix tab in Serum. Let's go ahead and move on to the last tab in our lesson, or in our course, which will be the global tab. And let's take a look at that in a little bit better detail.